Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over Falcon Blade. I'm going to show you what it does, how to use it, and when to buy it. So Falcon Blade costs 1,125 gold, and it's pretty cheap in the grand scheme of all these big items, but it is an earlier game item, and so it's fairly expensive in that regard. So how I like to think about this is that it basically costs twice what a Wraith Band costs. So if you're buying Falcon Blade, you could instead have 2 Wraith Bands. And that's sort of how you have to think about this item is like, is it better to have 2 Wraith Bands or 2 Bracers, or is it better to have Falcon Blade? That doesn't mean that you can't buy a Wraith Band and then Falcon Blade as well, but that starts to get pretty expensive. So you have to have a very good reason for buying Falcon Blade. So then in terms of what Falcon Blade gives us, it gives us 200 health, 1.8 mana regen, and 14 damage. And yes, 200 health is great. You know, a little bit of tankiness early on, 14 damage, also great for harassing and just doing more damage to creeps and farming and all that kind of stuff. But really, this item is about the 1.8 mana regen. You can really think about this item as a mana regen item. So yes, Wraith Bands can be great for the laning stage, but they don't help you with mana regen. You know, Bracers are great. They give you tankiness, but again, don't help you with mana regen. And so a lot of these mana regen items are usually fairly expensive. So if we look at Echo Saber, that's another pretty good mana regen item, but 2,700 gold. You're buying this, yes, because it has some mana regen, but you're buying it for other reasons as well. Another good example, Mage Slayer. This has some mana regen as well, but again, pretty expensive. You're buying it for other reasons. Maybe something like an Orchid, great mana regen, but very expensive. You're buying it for other reasons. Falcon Blade, it's like, okay, I need something small. I don't want to go into Echo Saber or Orchid or Mage Slayer. You know, I don't want to get these items because I'm a carry, I'm a drow or whatever. I need some mana, but at the end of the day, if I keep flying myself a billion clarities, it's just going to be too expensive. So I want this Falcon Blade because this mana regen is so important on my hero. And so that's really how we want to be thinking about Falcon Blade, thinking about it as like a carry item that gives us mana regen for those heroes that just really need mana regen but don't want to spend a lot of money on one of these other mana regen items that are bigger. And so that's how we can think about the heroes that like to buy this item. Something like a Drow, something like a Weaver, one of these heroes that kind of spams spells, you know, uses a lot of mana, but is a little bit squishy, and so doesn't want to go like, let's say, straight into a Maelstrom with Weaver. You can totally do that, don't get me wrong, but there are going to be situations where it's like, oh, I need a little bit of health, I want a little bit of extra damage, and I would love to have some mana regen, and so buying this smaller item, this 1,000 gold item, kind of just makes us transition from those early, you know, treads, wand, whatever, into our farming item, and it's a little bit of a stopgap item to make sure that we have some tankiness, we can stay on the map, we can farm, all that kind of stuff. Same thing with Drow. It's a perfect example. That doesn't mean they're going to buy it every game, but these are the types of heroes that like to buy these mana regen items like Falcon Blade. But something like, let's say, Slark, this hero, yeah, certainly you could buy Falcon Blade. People have done it, but this hero loves to buy Mage Slayer. This hero loves to buy Echo Saber. So for the most part, you're not going to be buying Falcon Blade because it's really not worth it when you can buy one of those better items that give you mana regen and upgrade into other things or do other things like, you know, the Mage Slayer tankiness plus the damage plus the Echo Saber double hit, all that kind of stuff. So it does depend. If you are going to build into one of those items, then you're probably not getting it. But like I said, Drow, Weaver, these heroes don't really love to buy Orchid or Echo Saber or Mage Slayer. And then lastly, in terms of when to buy it and how to build it, basically this is an early game item like I talked about, right alongside other items like Wraith Band. You're building it kind of in that later portion of the laning stage, and you build it with Fluffy Hat, Sage's Mask, Blade of Attack, and a recipe. But honestly, unlike a lot of other items, you could buy any of these 3 items early, and honestly, you might even start off with the Blades of Attack in your inventory as a starting gold item. You might just buy this straight out. You can do that on Drow, Clinks. Some heroes that know they're going to be buying Falcon Blade loves to start off the game with Blades of Attack because that 9 damage is huge for last hitting and harassing the enemy. And then you can even go right into Sage's Mask to get that little bit of extra mana regen if you know you're going to be spamming spells like Clinks and Drow do. They use mana to harass. They use mana a lot. So having that mana regen is great. And even having Fluffy Hat early is pretty good for that health, but for the most part, you're probably buying Fluffy Hat last in almost every situation, and then finishing it out, obviously, with the recipe of Falcon Blade to get your full Falcon Blade. And then, like I said, you're probably buying this later in the laning stage because even if you have Sage's Mask and Blade of Attack in your inventory early, you'd most likely want to finish out your Magic Wand, maybe even a Wraith Band, Power Treads, instead of that 500 gold for Fluffy Hat and a recipe. It's just probably more worth it at the early portion of the laning stage to just keep these items in your inventory. Because like this 500 gold, that's like basically a Wraith Band. That's your boots. So a lot of times you're going to want to buy those other items instead of finishing this out. But 5, 6, 7 minutes after you have those items, you can totally finish your Falcon Blade. And then there's basically never a time where you're buying Falcon Blade like after 15 minutes. It's the same thing with Wraithband. The only time that I could ever think of buying Wraithbands late or like on Lone Druid. That's like a really weird scenario, and there's really no situation where you would buy Falcon Blade after 15 minutes. It's just an early game item. It's a transitionary item from the laning stage into farming or whatever. It's just for that mana regen early, and that's super important. Also the tankiness and the things that it provides you in the lane with the build-up. That's really the purpose of the item in general. And then lastly, when do we build Falcon Blade? Like I said, for a lot of these situational items, it is a lot about the meta. It is a lot about that specific patch and how good this item is in that patch. But on a hero like Drow, on a hero like Clinkz, you can get away with going for it early. Maybe you want to get a little bit greedy and go right into your items, but I'm telling you, for those kinds of ranged heroes that like to buy this item, that don't want to buy something like a Maelstrom super quickly or want a little bit of tankiness, want a little bit of damage, on those specific heroes, this is a very, very good value item that you can be buying pretty much every game. And honestly, I think you can buy it every game because of the Blade of Attack. If you're going to be buying this, I say buy the Blade of Attack early, like I talked about, and that is kind of why you want to get this item, because getting this extra damage is just so value early, and then you want that mana regen, you might as well do this, and this buildup is part of that reason. So if you're going to be buying Falcon Blade, buy the Blade of Attack early, and that's what you're going to be doing. If you don't buy this early, you're buying something else, you're going for a different build-up, then just skip the Falcon Blade, maybe go for a Wraithband, go right into Power Treads, Maelstrom, you know, whatever it is, Manta for Drow, or something like that. And that, everyone, is Falcon Blade. I hope this helped you better understand the item and when to buy it. As always, guys, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.